while I was executing my social media guest room purge last month, I also concluded that I was indeed going to be traveling extensively this winter. So I re-added some of my old travel contacts and people that I'd met on the road. And, it's that whole part of my life moving forward thing. Find people that I wanted to reconnect with. Social media, great way to do it. One person I added, I had met back in the spring of 2009, a guy I really liked a lot. Good guy. And then when I added him, almost immediately, I saw that he had posted something on the Proud White American Facebook page. I mean, I knew he was a conservative guy, but I had missed the racist part, especially considering he employs Central American illegals. They work at his business. Honduras. That's where they're from. Might know a couple. And I had to check out that page, especially considering the stuff that I had been seeing, after Ferguson. And holy fuck. I found, finally, I think, the spring, the source of where all this unabashed stupidity and ignorance was coming from. It was here all along, man. Some of them had just simply run off the reservation after Ferguson. They'd taken their message outside of the echo chambers, presumably, engorged with reinforced ignorance enough to assume that it would play out here in the real world. And this page, this Proud White American Facebook page, makes 1955 look like Woodstock. Oh, and through that page, I discovered that there are other proud racist pages to behold as well. Pages like Stop White Genocide. Now, let me be clear here, okay? Stop White Genocide. They're not trying to stop whites from committing genocide. That's right. They literally believe that the white race is being exterminated by Obama and the socialist, godless liberals with their diversity, which is, of course, to them, really the mongrelization of the races, the end of the proud white race. Now, that particular page, the white genocide thing, that has been taken down. Or they figured out that I was silently trolling it and blocked me. I don't know. I can't find it now. But fret not. There are plenty more out there. Pages like Pissed Off White Americans. Another one, White and Proud. There's one called Europe for Europeans. And on and on and on. It's not just the United States. This isn't just an American thing. These pages are not hard to find. But they do tend to vanish when enough people report them to Facebook. In fact, one group solicited emails so that they could rebuild their Facebook clan when they were finally lynched by that race traitor Zuckerberg. Now, these groups, of course, are the extremists. But there are others out there that are much more mainstream. One in particular has nearly 200,000 followers. It's called Patriot Nation. Of course it has Patriot in the name, right? Anyhow, their racism is subtle and toned down, at least among the administrators and the people that post, and redirected toward Muslims and Obama. And by perusing these sites and adding them to my feed for the last few weeks, I've finally come to understand where this staggering ignorance that's being proudly displayed as though it's philosophical brilliance was coming from. And the links on these pages, they looked awfully familiar. It was the same shit that was being shared by my recently exiled Facebook pals. I've been talking about echo chambers for a really long time, over and over again. You hear me say it a lot. I know that. Yet I think I underestimated just how bad the problem is. We are not only divided, we are living in different fucking dimensions, with different intellectual laws of physics and vastly different interpretations of what the facts are. In their world, Obama really is, literally, to them, Obama really is the Antichrist. He's not only incompetent, but you know what? He's in cahoots with ISIS and plotting to destroy America by letting Muslim extremists cross the border with diseased illegals and execute terrorist attacks. Why, you ask? Well, so he can institute martial law, or worse, Sharia law. That's what he wants. He wants Sharia law. brought to the shores of America. Seriously. They literally believe ferociously this Glenn Beck, Alex Jones shit. In their world, Benghazi really is the worst scandal ever. Worse than Watergate. Iran-Contra, all of it. Benghazi. Benghazi. Benghazi! Many of these people really believe that liberals want to eradicate their religion and put all Christians in FEMA camps. And yeah, many really do believe, again fiercely, that diversity is code for white genocide. They have become the victim. They have become the persecuted. They are the ones that are being threatened. There's an enemy now. And those are the two things that fascists need. They need to be persecuted, and they need an enemy. And they have several. The version of batshittery that I was exposed to last month was the watered-down version. It's disturbing. If another 9/11 were to hit this week, I don't think we would tear another country apart like we did Iraq and Afghanistan in the last decade. We would tear ourselves to shreds. Ideological civil war. I think it's a real threat now. Ferguson and its aftermath was only a tiny, tiny little barometer, I think now, of where we really are. And I think I, myself, even with things like my Independence Day podcast that I thought was possibly over the line, I think I may have underestimated and understated the condition that we're in right now. The threat that's lying in wait, building, it's arming itself, even on pages like Patriot Nation. Seriously, they hawk weaponry on that page. Go look. Go check it out. Do you think I'm paranoid? I'm not alone. Radical, right-wing, fanatical militia groups are considered by some federal anti-terrorist officials to be a greater domestic threat right now than radical militant Muslims. Have you ever heard of the Sovereign movement? Take a listen to this.
Now, START is a government program funded by the Department of Homeland Security. They're supposed to know the threats. START believes the greatest potential threat to America is the sovereign citizen movement.
America better wake up if we're going to live in this country with any kind of freedom and liberty.
That's pretty recent, but it didn't take everyone so long to sort of catch on to this. This quote I'm about to read you is from 2010 from The Atlantic. It goes like this. Among other items of evidence seized from Timothy McVeigh's car when he was arrested 15 years ago next month outside of Oklahoma City was a papered quote from Samuel Adams that says, "When the government fears the people, there is liberty," the quote read. "When the people fear the government, there is tyranny." Sound familiar? And I'm still quoting here. Lest anyone remain unsure about McVeigh's motivation for the cold-blooded murder of 168 innocents at the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, the self-styled Patriot wore to the attack a T-shirt with the Latin inscription, Sic Semper Tyrannis, and the Thomas Jefferson line, "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants." End quote. Sic Semper Tyrannis, that means thus always to tyrants. Does that sound familiar to you? If you're well-versed in history, it might. That's what John Wilkes Booth yelled after he shot Abraham Lincoln and jumped on the stage at Ford's Theater. Those are your patriots. Terrorists are everywhere, okay? And they're always disguising themselves as patriots. In fact, they think they're patriots. It's not a disguise. They actually believe it. Everybody likes to invoke Hitler when you're having these conversations. He thought he was a patriot. He thought he was reinstating German glory. Mussolini wanted to restore the Roman Empire. They're always patriots. Always looking out for the cultural and national heritage. They're always nationalists. Flags everywhere. Right? There is a huge distinction to be made between patriotism, love of country, and nationalism. That your country can do no wrong. That your country is the greatest thing ever. That's nationalism. And nationalism is at the root of just about every war of aggression. Nationalism started both World War I and World War II. These right-wing groups are nationalist groups. They're not patriotic. Think long and hard on that. The distinction between patriotism and nationalism. It's a huge distinction to be made. Another suggestion. I suggest you go take a peek at some of these far-right fascist, yes, fascist, they are fascist organizations. Also, find and watch the Timothy McVeigh interviews. Compare the language, compare the ideas to these right-wing groups. Then ask yourself, WWMD, what would McVeigh do? I'm going to post the entire Atlantic article if you want to read it. It's chilling. And how has the landscape deteriorated since that article was written almost 5 years ago? Consider that the Klan not only raised money publicly for Darren Wilson and Ferguson, but they're feeling that they're on solid enough ground now that the culture is changed to the point that they can actually begin canvassing style recruitment drives with flyers and candy to boost their membership. It's incredible. The Ku Klux Klan. Consider that to these extremists, okay, John McFucking Kane is not conservative enough. Eric Cantor was not conservative enough. John Boehner is a rhino. Also consider that the Teds, Cruz and Nugent, they're not batshit, they're just good Americans just talking sense. Straight talk. America. Saying things like, deport all Muslims immediately, stop all Muslims from coming into the United States, no Muslim student visas, all Muslims are filthy, disgusting people that worship Satan. This was a public comment. This was said in public. Saying that in public is just good old American patriotism to these fucks. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? This sounds like something out of Mein Kampf. Zig Heil, motherfucker. Zig Heil. Also, think that the aforementioned Cliven Bundy, do you think he was an extremist outlier? Hardly. Emboldened by that Bundy standoff out there in Nevada, there are literally, right now, defiant armed militia groups, immigration vigilantes, heading to the Mexican border to enforce our border and our laws. It's all over these pages. You can go find it. You can see for yourself. I've said it 1,000 times. This is the golden age of propaganda. Social media has connected us all. It's happened. The class reunions and the social groups, they were the shiny, happy, furry side. But on the scaly, infected, and festering underbelly, the ideologues and the extremists have connected as well. What was viewed as a positive in Tunisia and Egypt during, that Arab Spring thing, it's working its antithetical black magic. And not just here, kids. I alluded to it earlier. Fascism slithering forth from cultural swamps worldwide. Old-timey European fascism is bubbling up as well, especially in places like France and Great Britain and Greece and, yes, Germany. But it's not anti-Semitism this time. This time it's driven by, that same familiar anti-Muslim and anti-immigration fever. Fascism is actually spreading. It's growing. It's communicable. It's airborne. Everywhere. The fascist refrain's the same as it's always been. Our country's being taken away from us. We need to take our country back. Fight tyranny. It's all related. Wake up, sheeple.